Do you remember the girl Meg Ryan brought into her life years ago? It feels like just yesterday, yet so much has changed. After 18 years, that tiny girl has transformed into a young woman. What has her journey been like? There's a story behind those years, filled with challenges, dreams, and the love of a family. Are you curious about how she looks now and what her life has turned into? Get ready to be surprised. Daisy's life in the orphanage. Daisy True Ryan's story began in an orphanage in one of China's rural cities. She was born in China to a poor family in 2004. Her arrival into the world was marked by the challenging circumstances that defined the lives of countless children in China during that time. Born in the early 2000s, Daisy entered a society influenced by the one-child policy, a governmental measure intended to control population growth, but one that carried significant and often heartbreaking consequences. The one-child policy was a population planning initiative in China, implemented between 1979 and 2015, to curb the country's population growth by restricting many families to birthing a single child. The policy's rationale was to reduce the growth rate of China's enormous population. By the late 1970s, China's population had approached the 1 billion mark, and a voluntary program was announced in the late 1978 that encouraged families to have no more than 2 children, one child being preferable. However, in 1979, demand grew for making the limit of 1 child per family, and in 1980, the central government implemented the one-child policy nationwide. The population control program had wide-ranging social effects, particularly on families in rural and economically disadvantaged areas. Many parents, especially those with limited resources, felt immense pressure to prioritize the birth of sons over daughters. In traditional Chinese culture, sons were often seen as carriers of the family name and as a source of financial security for aging parents. This cultural preference, coupled with the strict enforcement of the policy, led to the abandonment of unwanted baby girls like Daisy in a precarious position, some of whom died, were placed in orphanages and adopted abroad or abandoned. Daisy's biological parents faced an impossible decision. They were a young couple who already had a son and couldn't support another child. And to top that, they were afraid of the fines and penalties associated with having more than one child. For these reasons, Daisy was abandoned and left without the family she deserved. During that time, many children like Daisy were left in places where they might be found, like a hospital, a marketplace, or the steps of an orphanage. It was a heartbreaking act of desperation, often carried out hoping their child would find a better life elsewhere. When her mother gave birth to her, she immediately wrapped her up and, under the cover of the night, left Daisy in a street close to an orphanage. In the morning, the newborn baby was noticed by a passerby and taken to an orphanage. She became one of the countless children growing up without the comfort of a family. While the caregivers provided the essentials like food, shelter, and basic care, they couldn't replace the intimate bond of a parent's love. Being an orphan brings so much uncertainty and loneliness. They grow up with no place to call their own and no family to love them. And for some, it can feel like there is no way out. But in a shocking turn of events, Daisy's life turned around for good. In January 2006, when she was 2 years old, she caught the eyes of a popular Hollywood star, Meg Ryan, who adopted her as her daughter. This was the first time Daisy True would feel the love and bond of a mother. The little girl who had spent her early years surrounded by uncertainty and loneliness was now offered a new beginning, a chance to be nurtured with love and care. Who was this Hollywood actress who gave Daisy another chance to have a family? Let's delve into Meg's life. Meg Ryan, the adopted mother of Daisy.
And we have with us the one and only Meg Ryan, everybody, who's going. Yes, give it up for Meg Ryan.
The story of Daisy, an unwanted girl born in China, wouldn't be complete without mentioning Meg Ryan. She is an American actress and producer. Despite coming from an ambitious and well-read family, it was not a typical perfect family, and with time, the cracks in the family became evident. For her parents, their marriage was invaded by constant misunderstandings and conflict. They tried putting up with each other for the children's sake, but their love grew cold until they couldn't stand each other. One day in 1976, her parents reached their breaking point and filed for a divorce. Meg attended St. Pius X Elementary School in Fairfield and then Bethel High School, where she graduated in 1979. From childhood, Meg Ryan had a keen interest in storytelling and communication, which naturally led her to dream of becoming a journalist. She loved reading and telling stories to her peers, including some fiction. Growing up in a household where her mother was both an English teacher and an actress, Meg was surrounded by the power of words and narratives, further fueling her ambition to pursue journalism. This passion eventually guided her to enroll at the University of Connecticut and then at New York University, where she began studying journalism as an undergraduate, hoping to turn her childhood fascination into a fulfilling career. During college, Meg Ryan decided to try acting to earn extra money. Her first shot was in television commercials and the soap opera As the World Turns. She did well, became well-known, and was always given acting gigs. Her success as an actress led her to leave college a semester before she planned to graduate. After appearing in several movies and TV shows, Meg Ryan applied to and joined the Screen Actors Guild. Meg Ryan's journey to becoming one of Hollywood's most beloved stars is a story of talent and perseverance. In the early 1980s, she was just another hopeful young woman trying to find her place in the entertainment industry. By the mid-1980s, Ryan was making her way into films, often in supporting roles. One of her early standout moments was in the blockbuster Top Gun, where she played Carol, the wife of Goose, Tom Cruise's best friend. Though her screen time was limited, Ryan's warmth and charisma left an impression. Around the same time, she appeared in the independent film Promised Land, showcasing her ability to bring depth and life to her characters. Meg Ryan became popular through acting and rose to fame in the late 1980s. She was particularly renowned for her portrayal of quirky and charismatic women and became a defining figure in romantic comedies throughout the 1980s and 1990s. Her natural charm and relatable on-screen presence earned her the affectionate title of America's Sweetheart and the Queen of Rom-Com, reflecting her widespread appeal and endearing performances. Meg Ryan's personal life has been a fascinating love, heartbreak, and self-discovery journey. The world fell in love with her on-screen charm. Still, her off-screen relationships have often mirrored the complexities and unpredictability of the romantic comedies for which she became famous. What was Meg's relationship life like, and who did she marry? Let's find out. Meg's love life. Meg Ryan's love life all began with actor Dennis Quaid. The two had met and fell in love during one of their casting. They were on the same set and got attracted to each other. Their love grew, and on February 14, 1991, they had a Valentine's Day wedding. It was a fairy tale wedding, with friends, family, and Hollywood's elite gathered to witness the couple exchange vows, their love story taking center stage on the most romantic day of the year. The reception followed after the wedding. It was organized in a dinner setting and equally magical, with soft lighting, romantic music, and an atmosphere of love and celebration. Guests danced, toasted the newlyweds, and shared stories about the couple's journey together. Every detail of the day was thoughtfully planned, from the flowers to the cake. Everyone present had an unforgettable experience. 1 year after their wedding, the union was blessed with a son, Jack Quaid, born on April 24, 1992. Jack became the heart of their world, a bond of joy amidst the bustling demands of their careers. Their marriage was built on shared dreams and mutual respect and seemed to be a happily ever after story. Yet, like all great love stories, theirs had its challenges. It was good at first. However, as years passed, cracks began to appear. Fame and the relentless pressure of Hollywood life started to take a toll. After nearly a decade of marriage, their relationship came to an end in 2000 amid allegations of infidelity on both sides. Throughout their time together, both claimed it was a rocky marriage, full of challenges and misunderstandings. By June 2000, Meg and Dennis announced their separation, and their divorce was finalized a year later, in July 2001. Meg also reflected on how the publicized divorce affected her and her acting career, but she accepted the reality. As the public absorbed the news of their split, Ryan's life changed dramatically. While filming the action thriller Proof of Life in 2000, Meg became romantically involved with her co-star Russell Crowe. Their on-set chemistry translated into a real-life romance that made headlines. Though their relationship was passionate, it was short-lived. For several years, Ryan remained relatively private about her love life, focusing on raising Jack and maintaining her career. But in 2010, Her name was back in the spotlight when she began dating singer-songwriter John Mellencamp. Mellencamp, a charismatic and talented musician, seemed to bring a sense of groundedness and simplicity to Ryan's world. Their relationship spanned 4 years, filled with ups and downs before they parted ways in 2014. Despite their split, they reunited in 2017, sparking hope among fans that this was Meg's enduring love story. The rekindling of their romance led to an exciting announcement on November 8, 2018. Ryan and Mellencamp were engaged. The news was celebrated widely, with many hoping this would be the happy ending Ryan deserved. However, life took another unexpected turn. Reports surfaced that Ryan had called off the engagement by October 2019. The reasons behind the decision were never fully disclosed, but it showed that her relationship life was complicated. However, her life was not all complicated and uneventful. She had done something exceptional by adopting a child abandoned in an orphanage. What events led to this, and how did she meet Daisy? Let's find out. Daisy's adoption.
Do it. I always thought that I would adopt, and it's incredible when the events start kind of conspiring. You feel like, oh, she's calling me, I'm calling her.
After Meg Ryan and Dennis Quaid's divorce in 2001, she started longing to give love and nurture to someone who needed it the most. Though she had achieved great success and had a son, Jack, she wanted a girl child. So, how was she able to achieve this? During a visit to China, amidst the bustling streets and tranquil countryside, Meg encountered something that touched her deeply. While exploring the country's culture and beauty, she came across an orphanage. Her visit wasn't planned. It was a spontaneous decision driven by curiosity. She had no idea that stepping through those doors would change her life forever. Inside the orphanage, Meg was greeted by rows of cribs and tiny faces peeking out with wide, curious eyes. The children were innocent, but many had not experienced love, and their eyes were filled with sadness and loneliness. The sight was overwhelming. She watched the caregivers tirelessly attend to each child, doing their best with limited resources. It was a humbling moment, a stark reality of how the poor and less privileged navigated their lives amid struggle and lack. Then, amidst the children, her eyes landed on a little girl. She was just 14 months old, barely more than a baby. Yet something about her drew Meg in. The baby had been crying when Meg met her, and the caretakers tried all they could to pacify her, but she kept on crying. It was at this moment that Meg took notice of her. She reached out and carried her, and in a moment that seemed magical, the baby stopped crying instantly and began to play with Meg's hair. Meg felt an unexplainable connection in that instant, as if the universe had placed this little girl on her path for a reason. Meg couldn't forget the faces of the children, or the feeling of holding that tiny hand in hers. Meg had always wanted to adopt and was on the brink of it at various times. But the desire became strong when she met Daisy, and she couldn't resist. The events that conspired to bring them together were surprising but perfect. She began researching adoption, learning about the processes one must go through and all the paperwork that must be completed. The more she learned, the more she realized that adoption is more about creating a bond, loving and nurturing the child as one's own, than it is about giving the child a home. The adoption process wasn't easy. It was lengthy and required patience. However, Meg was determined to see it to the end. She navigated the paperwork, the interviews, and the waiting patiently, with the hope that the child would be hers one day. She thought of the moment she would finally meet the child who would become her daughter, and it filled her with hope. After months of effort, the paperwork was finally completed, and Daisy True became legally Meg Ryan's daughter. When the call finally came for her to take Daisy home, it felt like destiny. Meg flew to China, her heart racing with anticipation. Holding the little girl in her arms, she knew she had made the right decision. The actress described her decision to adopt Daisy True as deliberate, stating that she had always known she would adopt. Daisy was originally named Charlotte True, but Ryan felt the name didn't suit her. The child was a ridiculously happy baby. She was bubbling with life and innocence, and a beauty to behold. Therefore, Meg thought of the happiest name and came up with Daisy. At that moment, she realized that the love she had to give was endless, and Daisy was meant to be part of her story all along. From that day forward, Meg's life changed. Daisy brought joy, laughter, and a sense of purpose that completed their family in a way she never thought possible. Meg Ryan flew with Daisy from the orphanage in China to her luxurious home in Los Angeles. For a girl whose early life was in a stuffy and dilapidated orphanage, living in a luxurious Hollywood mansion was something she could never have imagined. Ryan and Daisy later moved from Los Angeles to New York City, where Daisy spent her formative years. Meg loved Daisy so much and was determined to give her a normal childhood despite her sad past. Daisy had experienced the loneliness and uncertainty of life in an orphanage, but Meg wanted to ensure those memories were replaced with love, security, and joy. As a mother, Meg created a safe home for Daisy, keeping her away from the glaring spotlight and public scrutiny that came with Hollywood celebrity. She kept her family life private, focusing on raising Daisy and her son, Jack, who was 14 years old, in a loving and nurturing environment. She dedicated herself to being present for her children, often prioritizing her family life over her career. She loved spending time with her kids and enjoyed their company. She recounted that they were the best people to hang out with. Jack and Daisy grew up to be curious and interesting children, and Meg loved that. Contrary to what some might imagine about a child's upbringing in a wealthy and privileged household, Daisy's life was far from being one of indulgence and excess. Meg, while showering her children with love, deliberately balanced her parenting approach. "Discipline and love go hand in hand," Meg once said, and it was evident in the way she raised Daisy. Meg was not the kind of parent to pamper Daisy to the point of spoiling her. She made sure her daughter stayed disciplined and grounded despite their affluence. Though Meg raised her in love, giving Daisy a loving home, she also instilled values like respect, responsibility, and humility in her. One of Meg's parenting decisions that stood out was delaying giving Daisy a phone until she turned 15. During an interview, Ryan admitted that she was a bit strict as a mom, revealing that Daisy didn't own a phone until she was 15. Because of that, the actress explained that young Daisy grew up to have a great memory with the understanding that having a phone was not everything. She has a lot of different interests, and she's a great reader. Without a phone to occupy her time, young Daisy channeled her time and attention to reading books and developed an interest in things around her. Meg's parenting approach paid off as Daisy became a proper and respectful young lady. Meg was a great mom and did a great job with Daisy's upbringing. Interestingly, Meg Ryan infused an adoption story in her most recent 2023 romantic comedy, What Happens Later, which she co-wrote with Hollywood actor David Duchovny. Infusing an adoption storyline reflected her journey with Daisy, the daughter she adopted from China in 2006. For a Glamour cover story on December 2023, Meg shared that she decided to add an adoption story to her character's background. In co-writing the script, Ryan reworked the storyline for her character Willa to make it more personal, incorporating an emotional scene in which the character shares that she gave up a baby for adoption but thinks her child found loving parents. According to her, she added an adoption story to Willa's background to reflect Daisy's story, as it is a subject close to her heart. Unlike most actors who instantly recoil and go all private when asked about their family, Ryan beams with pride when the subject of her kids comes up, and most times during her interviews, the focus could derail in the best way possible by shifting from Meg Ryan, who is a movie star, to Meg Ryan, who is a mom. Talking about her kids seems to be her favorite subject, one she could happily discuss all day. Daisy grew up surrounded by warmth, care, and the guidance of a mother who truly cherished her. So, the big question is, what has been happening in Daisy's life since then? And how does she look now, 18 years later, Daisy's current life? Daisy is no longer the little girl who once called an orphanage home. Now 20 years old, she has grown into a beautiful, intelligent young woman with a bright future. Daisy True Ryan is a sophomore studying English literature at Smith College in Massachusetts, but hopes to further her education in Bath, England. Daisy had tackled her first year of college and pushed herself to succeed, while also enjoying her hobbies, including design, sewing, and tailoring. She even uses some pieces from her mother's closet to practice sewing. Daisy True has an interest in fashion too. In 2019, a then 15-year-old Daisy joined her mom at the Schiaparelli Haute Couture show at Paris Haute Couture Fashion Week. Although Meg doesn't share much about her private family life, she has opened up about her daughter's personality. Meg Ryan, now 63, describes Daisy as hilarious, smart, kind, interested in other people, and curious about the world. Having Daisy as her daughter has made her life better, and she feels so proud of her. When Daisy went off to college, Meg didn't let distance diminish their bond. She still spent some quality time with her. She often travels regularly and drives long hours just to share a coffee or spend an afternoon catching up with Daisy in her school. Although Ryan keeps Daisy's life pretty private, and public appearances are rare for the 20-year-old. She was recently seen in public in New York City with Meg Ryan, her adoptive mother. Daisy was seen with Meg Ryan last summer on August 28 of 2024 in New York City as they shopped in Soho and Tribeca. The pair were spotted together shopping for books in New York City before the teen returned to her university in Massachusetts. Both the actress and her daughter dressed in casual chic attire for the outing, with Ryan wearing a white top with the sleeves rolled up, loose-fitting black pants, and shoes. Daisy opted for a white button-up shirt with a colorful print tucked into high-waisted belted blue jeans and white sneakers. On Friday, October 11, 2024, the 63-year-old actress was photographed taking a casual stroll with 20-year-old Daisy in New York City. The two dressed stylishly for fall as the weather was colder. Daisy wore a white and brown cardigan sweater paired with blue jeans, an orange polo shirt, and glasses, while Meg Ryan, the Hollywood star, wore a black coat over jeans and dark sunglasses. Mother and daughter chatted and munched on apples while they strolled on the street, further giving an idea of how deep their bond is. While Daisy True has chosen to remain low-key, her older brother Jack Quaid, Meg Ryan's biological son, whom she had with her ex-husband, Dennis Quaid, is a well-known actor. While Daisy was still growing up and getting her elementary education, Jack followed in his parents' footsteps to become an actor. However, Meg Ryan previously admitted that raising her kids in the spotlight worried her, especially regarding the scrutiny a privileged child might face when they try to find their own success. After all, her son Jack was starting to make strides in his own Hollywood career. He has often been tagged a Nepo baby, which is short for nepotism baby, because his mother is a celebrity and is also in the movie industry. Nepotism means giving special advantages, opportunities, or favors to family members or friends, especially in jobs or positions of power. Despite the inevitable criticism that came with following in his mother's footsteps, Jack was determined to prove how talented he was. Jack made his acting debut in 2012 with a role in The Hunger Games, and has since starred in high-profile projects like Oppenheimer, Logan Lucky, and the popular TV series The Boys. He is now 32 years old and has made a name for himself in Hollywood. Daisy True is still young and lives under the affluence and wealth of her parents. Her adoptive mother, Meg Ryan, has an estimated net worth of $85 million in 2024. She has amassed this wealth from her successful acting career. Despite her mother's prominence, Daisy True Ryan has one of the most private and grounded lives. Meg keeps her from the limelight and shares little information about her. She does so to keep unwarranted attention away from the 20-year-old. Their bond is so magical, and it's just right to think they were destined to be in each other's lives. What do you think about this story? Did Meg Ryan make the right decision by adopting Daisy? Share your thoughts in the comments section, and remember to give a thumbs up. For more interesting stories, subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to be notified each time we post a video. Before you go, click on the video displayed on your screen.